Who wants psychic powers? Yes, over here.
Me,
I do. Yes, over here.
Me.
Do you? Well then why not hop on down and play some Control, the 2019 third-person action-adventure game developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by 505 Games for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. Now before we continue, I will be spoiling this game for you if you've not played it. This is your warning. If you want to play it first, then go do it now. Or if you'd rather watch someone play it, then go check out my Let's Play on the game right up here. Now the next thing I will say before we jump into this is that I am no completionist. I will play a game to the end, and if it's a game that I really enjoy, that is when I go for the completion status. On that point, I cannot speak about every nook and cranny within this game, as I did not do it all. I did not look at every little thing, I did not read every document, and I did zero of the post-game. Do I still feel I can do a fair review on this game with all that missing? I believe so, as I still played through the whole story, did a few side missions, racked up about 9 hours overall on this game. With that all being said, let's begin, shall we? Now, I warn you, there is a lot to this story, so I apologise if I miss something out or confuse you with how I relay it, but I shall do my best not to mess this up. Control is set in the modern day, and you play as a lady named Jessie Faden. You venture to a place known as the Oldest House. The Oldest House is a place where the US government agency known as the Federal Bureau of Control, or the FBC, have their base of operations. The FBC are responsible for the investigation of things known as altered world events. These are where things from other realities change things within the perceived reality of humans. The AWEs affect regular everyday objects and give them special properties. Then these get referred to as altered items. Still with me? Good, because I found myself getting lost within this game a lot when it came to what was going on. There is a lot more to these altered items, and there are other kinds of items as well, but these only appear in side missions, so let's ignore them and keep things as simple as possible, for my sakes at least. As Jessie, you have gone to the Oldest House in search of your brother. As children, you found one of these altered items, a slide projector, and opened up a new dimension. This caused some kind of catastrophe, and your brother was taken away by the FBC when they came to clear up the mess. When this all went down, an entity from the other dimension came through and attached itself to Jessie. Jessie has named it Polaris, and speaks to it throughout the game. So, Jessie goes through the Oldest House, finds her way to the director's office, and finds him dead on the floor. She grabs the gun next to him and is now promoted to the position of director. I know! Easiest promotion ever. As she leaves the director's office, she finds out that the Oldest House has been invaded by an evil force that she has dubbed the Hiss. The Hiss has infected most of the FBC's agents and has corrupted the building itself, forcing it to change shape. To cut a long and confusing story short, you fight your way through the building, helping different members of the FBC who you come across, as they also help you find your brother and stop the Hiss. Along the way, you find objects of power which you cleanse. This in turn gives you more and more psionic powers. In the end, you find your brother. He was in the running to be the next director, but was taken over by the Hiss, and you must stop him to stop the Hiss and hopefully reunite. Insane, right? Like absolutely batshit crazy. There is so much to this story, so many moving parts and characters, and so much lore placed throughout that it's way too much to cover here. But one thing I will say is that it's bloody good. It is told so well and constantly keeps you guessing and thinking about what the hell is going on. And yet when you're playing it, you never feel out the loop. Although you feel lost, you feel like you have enough information to make your own theories and guesses about what is going on throughout the game, which in turn makes you want to play more to see if you were right. The gameplay at its core is a third-person shooter, and as a third-person shooter, it's done extremely well. Very early on, you gain the director's gun called the service weapon. This weapon is the only physical weapon you have throughout the game. But trust me when I say, it is all you need. As you go through the game, you pick up parts and items which you can use to upgrade yourself and the weapon. Upgrading yourself allows you to equip mods to do various things, such as increase your health or do extra damage with the headshots, etc, etc. Upgrading your weapon allows you to make use of its different forms. There are several of these, such as the base form, known as the grip, which is your run-of-the-mill pistol. The Pierce, which is absolutely delicious when up against armoured foes, and the Spin, which is effectively an SMG. Throughout the game, ammo is non-existent, and when your clip runs out, you just need to wait a small amount of time for it to recharge. If you are in combat and this is happening, then you can use your powers! Your powers are gained throughout the game by finding the various objects of power. When you have all of them, you have the powers of launch, which is the power to throw things. Once upgraded, this became my best friend, as you can throw nearly anything, including grenades that are shot at you, and also people. You have evade and levitate, which are pretty self-explanatory, and then there's shield, which allows you to rip up the floor from beneath you and hold it in front of you as a shield. And finally there is seize. This will give you the power to grab enemies and bring them to your side to combat the other enemies for a short amount of time. Although there are only a few powers, and I mainly only use the launch power, you feel so incredibly awesome and unstoppable that you don't really notice that there are only a few powers in your arsenal. Also, they are done so well and implemented so beautifully that I feel that this is one of those situations where less is definitely more. There are many characters throughout this game, and all the main ones have their own personalities, which really comes across. So let's have a quick chat just about a few of them. You have Artie, the janitor. He is a complete enigma. There is no knowing who he is or why he knows so much, but he does. He wears no protective clothing, has no weapons, and yet when you speak to him, he gives this impression that he knows everything. There are many theories on who this guy is, all of them equally interesting and frustrating, as I just want to know who he is! Next is Casper Darling. He is the main scientist you see throughout the whole game, but only in pre-recorded videos. He gives you the background information on everything you come across, but once again, you have no idea what has happened to him. Here's hoping the DLC will let us know on that one, because I really want to know. To begin with, he comes across as an excited scientist, all giddy like a kid at Christmas, as more and more things are being found out. But as you get further and further into the game, you notice him getting worried and scared about what's happening in the house. There's Frederick Langston, this slimy supervisor in charge of looking after the altered items. He's a busy guy, as when the hiss invaded, the altered items started becoming a problem. But when you speak to him, he gives you this air of this guy who is just up his own arse and would sell his own mother to get ahead if he could. But hey, that might just be me who thinks that. And the final one I shall bring up is Emily Pope. She is your best friend throughout this game and gives you most of your tasks and information on the oldest house and everything you need to know. She's great. She is made to be this caring character who actually feels like a friend. And I feel this was done with great care, as you go into this place not knowing a thing, not knowing anyone, and a lot of insane stuff going on. But they make her feel like this one point which you feel you can rely on. She is awesome. Thumbs up Remedy Entertainment for some really engaging and realistic feeling characters. As you play through the game, you always have a main mission to continue the story. You can always pick up side missions as you go through, and sometimes they will even just pop up, such as having to fight off a group of hiss in a certain part of the oldest house. Also, the janitor will give you jobs to do as well. So, you will never be without something to do. When it comes to missions though, there is not much else to say. You know how missions work, and you know how side missions work. There are also documents galore in this game to teach you about this world and the story it is trying to tell. There is a hell of a lot of them, and I have not read many. But they are very interesting, and you will find answers to a lot of your questions in these. Speaking of which, I do need to get back to reading some. The music and sound effects of this game are fantastic. Throughout the game, there are some absolutely perfect moments where the soundtrack completely makes the atmosphere. Some give an unbelievably eerie feel to the oldest house, and definitely makes you feel like something is just not quite right wherever you go. The song Take Control by Old Gods of Asgard was completely unexpected as well. At a moment in the game, you make your way through a part of the house. The issue is that it's a maze and will not let people through. You see the janitor and he gives you his Walkman, at which point you put your headphones in and this song plays, and it is spectacular. As a lover of rock and metal music, when this song came on, I could not stop jigging along to it and was deeply upset when it got to the end of the section and the music stopped playing. The graphics look bloody brilliant, which, to be fair, is understandable and kind of expected from Remedy Entertainment. The facial expressions look fantastic and really make these characters feel like real people who could actually exist. There are only a few minor bits where things messed up for me. There was an odd moment where Jesse suddenly went a bit boss-eyed, which was very strange and unexpected. And then I did have a few moments in which the game crashed coming out of a menu. Luckily, this only happened to me when I had reached new areas and the game had saved, so I luckily did not lose any progress. The other thing I found was that the lighting would sometimes go a bit strange, and there would either be extremely white parts of the area, or there would be some really grainy parts. Once again, it's not the end of the world, but something that was definitely noticed. The environment in this game is gorgeous throughout. You really get this feeling that the place you are in is not a normal place. Even with all the up-to-date technology around you, you get this feeling that the oldest house really is the oldest house, and that it's just completely and utterly full of mystery. The way it changes as well when the hiss attack, this ominous red glow, which although is simple, it's perfect and gives the exact effect needed to make you understand things are about to go down. Now, I cannot talk about the graphics and performance of this game without mentioning some of the issues that many people suffered, even though I did not. The game was unfortunately not optimized well on release, and the game across all platforms had major issues with crashes, abysmal frame rates, and some people not even being able to open it at all, unfortunately. As I said, I did not suffer problems on this scale, but even so, I feel they must be mentioned. Patches and fixes have been implemented since, but I believe overall it is considered to be a game that is not well optimized. So, when it comes to this game, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But there are two things I want to specifically mention. The first is a major spoiler for the end of the game, so if you want to skip this, then go to the timestamp on screen now. The one thing I really disliked about Control was the ending. You go through this gauntlet of enemies to reach your brother, to stop him, and then it just ends. You don't fight him. There's no special enemy to fight in his place. You just have waves of enemies, and then it finishes with him in a coma and you fully taking on your role as director and saying you need to clear the oldest house up, which then leads to the post-game. This was so disappointing. It really felt like the developers didn't know how to end it and had run out of time. Literally, it felt like someone in their offices just stuck their head around the corner and said, "Hey guys, this game is being released tomorrow, so finish up, yeah?" At which point the team were just going, yeah, and just ended it. But that's just my opinion. Others may not feel the same way. Now, one thing I loved about this game, like truly loved, and is probably my favourite thing about this game, is the oldest house itself. It feels like a character all in its own. The way it moves and changes when you cleanse the control points, the mystery behind it, of what it really is, the thought that this place could literally become whatever it wants to be, really interests me. And even if the rest of the story was kind of mediocre, I would definitely come back for DLC and a sequel, just to find out more about this setting. Well, that's all the time I've got for today, guys. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Did you guys play Control? If so, I would love to know what you made of it down in the comments. If you didn't play Control, has this review swayed you into playing it at all? Don't forget to drop a like, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to keep notified on when I upload. Now, I think it's time for me to jump back into Control, as I have a few documents to read. Take it easy, everybody.